Greetings and welcome to Growth Hacking Secrets. I'm your host, Mohammed Siddique from Atlanta, Georgia, and the co author of New Success Secrets available on Amazon. On this episode, we have a special guest, Alicia Butler Pierre. Alicia is a best selling author, podcaster, and CEO at Equilibria. Please join me to give a warm welcome to our guest, Alicia. Alicia, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's good to
Let
see you again after all these years.
Wonderful. Where were you? What happened? Who are you surrounded with that inspired you to do what you do today?
Wow. Okay, so a very short answer to that is my career began as a chemical engineer, Siddique, when I was working at a company called Monsanto. And I quickly knew that I did not want to be in a chemical plant or an oil refinery for the rest of my life. I decided to go back to business school, and business school really provided that missing link that I needed when it came to understanding how things work in the world. And eventually I left that career behind and decided to start my own business. I relocated to Atlanta about 16 years ago and started my company.
What are the top three mistakes to avoid?
So I specialize in creating business infrastructure for fast growing small businesses. And the three top mistakes to avoid. Number one, make sure you document your processes. So as you start to grow your company and you have to hire more people, those people need to know what work needs to be done, but they also need to know how to do that. And that's why processes are so important. It gives that baseline or that foundation of knowledge and information to disseminate throughout your company. I would say a second mistake to avoid is not having transparency in your job descriptions. Again, people are such an important aspect of keeping, greasing the wheels of your engine that keeps your company going. So make sure that as you start to build your team and add more people, that you're very transparent about exactly what needs to be done and what the expectations are. That way you can minimize surprises once they actually are onboarded. And then I would say a third mistake to avoid would be technology. And I know you are a tech guru, Siddique, but a mistake that I've seen, and I'm sure you see the same thing, is companies, small businesses and large companies alike, we tend to invest in the technology before we actually look at the process. So what often happens is we get lured in by a shiny new piece of technology only to discover that it actually doesn't fit nicely into the way that we may currently be doing something, or it may make it even more tedious and it may cause some redundancy. So always make sure that your technology fits your workflow as opposed to the other way around.
What is your greatest failure story? What did you learn
Ooh,
and how did you recover from it?
my greatest failure story, the software. So I was mentioning to you before we started this interview, back in 2008, that was when I first had the idea for the software, and I did not know what I was doing. I did not have a technology partner. And so I quickly lost a lot of money in a very short period of time because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what resources to look for. All I knew was that I had the idea. And so I abandoned it, to be honest with you, until last year because of the pandemic, when everybody was digitizing everything. I said, okay, you know what? I know a lot more people now, especially in the technology sector. So maybe now is the time to revisit that software development opportunity.
What are your top three success secrets that others can model from?
Okay, top three is primarily going to center around media. So first, write a book. And I could not have been able to attest to the power of writing a book and what it can do for you. And when I say write a book, I don't mean just 20 to 30 pages. I mean, write an actual book. But here's what happened. It allowed me to crystallize and put shape and form to all of the things that I had spoken about up to that very point, Siddique. When I wrote my book, I had been consulting at that point in my business for 13 years. So I had 13 years of experience to draw from as I put together that book. But here's what your audience needs to know. Your book serves as a launch pad for so many other things, speaking opportunities, other consulting gigs. It also led into my second success secret, which is starting a podcast. Having that podcast enables you to get the word out to even more people about whatever your subject matter expertise is or whatever your passions are, whether it's art, music, business, whatever. You can do a podcast about that. And because of the way podcasting currently works, it's primarily free and it's distributed literally around the world. So it gives you access to people who may have otherwise never find out about you or the work that you're doing. And then I would say the third thing is investing in the right technologies. So as a result of COVID, especially, so many of us were challenged to think about how we could either do our business completely remotely or have contactless operations. And so my business was no different. And so we started to invest in technologies that we were already using, but we had to upgrade the levels in which we were using those particular technologies. But here's another thing, a little, I guess, a hack in selecting the right technologies. And that is make sure that whatever technologies you select, that it plays nicely or it integrates with other technologies that you're using. So for example, if you use whatever CRM you may be using, make sure that it's something that can link with your payment system, the way you store processes and projects. Just make sure that if there is the opportunity for integration with any of these digital technologies, that they can at least communicate with each other, because that's going to reduce the amount of times that you and your team members have to constantly enter in data. I hope that makes sense.
Definitely. We are about to move into a lightning round. That means quick answer. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What are you grateful for today?
Life.
How young are you?
I am 44.
So, Alicia, you're not 44, you're 18 years plus with a 26 years experience.
I'll take that.
What you want to do when you grow up?
I want to sell my business and move on to some other ventures that I have, ideas for.
How do you overcome, excuse me, how do you overcome a challenge life throws at you?
I almost always read and I ask other people questions, people that may have gone through something similar, for their advice.
How do you start your day?
Reading and reflecting.
What is the advice you will give to younger yourself?
Trust your instinct.
Once you have a revenue generating idea, how do you convince your significant other?
I have learned the art of using analogies. So a lot of times it's difficult to express why I think something is a good idea, but I've always found that if I can use analogies or if I can draw from similar stories, that's always been a great way to sell or pitch my husband on a new revenue generating idea that I may have.
What is the impactful business book you have read and what did you learn from it?
There's so many, but the most.
Can I see it?
Oh, sure. So this is it. And sorry for the ring light there.
Yeah.
It's called Acting Up by Janice Bryant Howroyd. This is, again, I've read so many impactful books, but this is the latest one that I've read. And what I love about this book is that it's very practical and very down to earth. A lot of times books of this nature can get very high level, very almost like a textbook. But this draws from the wisdom and experiences given to her by her own parents and how she's been able to leverage that in building she is the first Black woman in America to own $1 billion company. So there you have it.
I understand that you are author yourself. I like to show us your book and why someone should learn it and what's the impact.
Sure. So this is my book. It's called Behind the Facade: How to Structure Company Operations for Sustainable Success. And if you have, in particular, if you have a company that is growing quicker than you can keep up with the demand for, you definitely want to take a look at this book, because it's going to teach you step by step how to actually create business infrastructure for your company so that you can not only continue to thrive and be profitable, but have a sustainable operation as well.
Why being impactful is important to you?
You know, Siddique, I'm at a point in my life where it's about leaving a legacy. And I would say that's why having impact and being impactful is most important to me right now. I'm all about giving back at this stage in my life.
Who is your living mentor and what's the impact?
I have several living mentors, probably too many to name right now since this is a rapid fire Q&A. But the impact is, oh my gosh, I don't know if there's one word to summarize the impact. I'll say this: it's impossible to learn everything on your own. So sometimes you have to learn from the mistakes and the wisdom of others. And that's what my mentors have done for me.
What do you want to be remembered for?
My operational prowess.
Who is your ideal client?
My ideal client is the owner or operator of a fast-growing small business that has been in existence for at least 2 to 3 years and currently has more demand than they can keep up with.
How can we support you?
Honestly, you're doing it right now, giving me a platform. EQB System, my website is EQB Systems, and that is with an S at the end.com. So if you go there, you can sign up for a consultation, and you can also learn more about what business infrastructure actually is and read some different articles. You'll also see a link to the podcast as well.
We are about to wrap up. I'd like to have your few words about your today's guest experience on the show. Here's my question. What would you say about your today's guest experience on the show?
It's always interesting doing something really quickly like this. So it was very efficient, I would say. That's probably the word I would use.
What would you say as a final word?
Trust your instinct. If you have a nudging gut feeling or intuitive thought, and no matter how crazy it may seem, pursue it, especially if it just won't go away.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Alicia, for sharing your wisdom with us today. On the behalf of Growth Hacking Secrets community and our entire team, we really appreciate you. This is Mohammed Siddique signing off from Atlanta, Georgia. Until the next episode, all good wishes.
Thank you.